I am not a video essayist. I watch video essayists on here. Great ones like FD Signifier, Illuminati, Lil Bill, Prince Shakur, Garrison Hayes over at Mother Jones, T1J, Andrewism, Answer in Progress, and many more. I often marvel at the amount of info these creators can pack into an hour video. As an editor myself, I admire the patience it takes to put together all those detailed infographics for each video. As a tech nerd, I mentally deliberate about what kind of computers they could be using to render all of these videos with 10 things going on at the same time in one frame. There are a ton of places you could go to get information. You might have to go to all of them. You probably still should, but I appreciate you stopping here. I legitimately thought I would never have to make a video like this, but the discourse around this election I've been seeing, I can't. We're 7 weeks out from this election. People are not reading, researching. Hell, they're not even remembering. I felt compelled to make this. It would be a dereliction of my duty as a culture YouTuber to not address this. I'm really about to give you a perspective you haven't seen and maybe offer some insight. So as I stand here in my Trump's Face Orange number 48 from the Pantone collection of 1982, I just want to let you know right now, I ain't finna be talking about no whole bunch of politics moving forward. I don't know if you heard, but this time around, the political discourse is once again in shambles. Vice President Kamala Harris appears to be running on a platform of girl power. And that may work to sell movies and TV shows, but whether it'll win an election remains to be seen. Even Hillary didn't lean into the woman thing so hard. Trump's lack of knowledge of the policy mapped out for him has been leading to some hilarious results. Let me start this off by saying 5 things I know y'all probably finna say, because they are genuine concerns, but also, yes, I've already considered them. 1, I know she was a prosecutor and has a history in criminal justice that's shaky at best. 2, I know she's contradicted herself multiple times on major issues like the war on Gaza. 3, I know it very much looks like she's yet another cog in the fascist machine disguised as a democracy. 4, I know she be lying. 5, I know she's probably not gonna do shit for black people, similar to Obama. We should all know why. I'm well aware of most, if not all, of the reasons I shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. And let me be clear, I'm not here to tell you you should vote for Vice President Harris. I believe these two motherfuckers are two sides of the same coin. I straight up don't believe in this shit at all. I haven't since George Bush Jr. If I had to put myself in a category of political belief, I'd say I'm probably an anarchist. I don't think this can be fixed. It needs to be started over from scratch. But even though I'm not sure this system can be fixed, I am sure that it can be a lot worse. We have a historical context to look back on. We also have modern examples of how bad it could be. All we gotta do is look at the dictatorships that exist somehow today still, or all the people lacking basic rights, freedoms, in the name of either colonialism, racism, capitalism, or some other bullshit-ism. The proof is all around us every day of how bad it could be if we only opened our eyes and looked. So that's why, with all that being said, I'ma tell you why I, a non-believer, still finna vote for this woman. Number 1 of my list, Project 2025. If you haven't read through or at least skimmed it, you should really click the link in the description and do that. Look, I already stated in another video what and who I'm primarily about as far as how I spend my emotional currency. And it's with us. Us. We're still in a deficit. no matter what they try to tell you. It is not equal, nor would it ever be equal under this system. But if you don't want to go back to the Jim Crow era, then I believe a vote for Harris-Walsh is a vote against that. Don't just take my word for it though. I urge all of you to do your own research. And don't let that motherfucker fool you either. Donald Trump has been trying to distance himself from the stank that's on Project 2025. But here he is, flying in private with one of the writers, Kevin Roberts. Some of their intentions can be heard in a secret recording caught by an investigative reporter as well. I'll put that link in the description too. If I missed something, let me know in the comments. If you find this video informative, like and subscribe. Shit, if you don't, still like and subscribe. You know I don't want to say the shit, so go ahead and do it. I can stop. Here's a few tidbits from the 922-page conservative promise that are troubling to say the least. Most of the changes involve the government, so we finna get serious. Project 2025 suggests placing the entire federal bureaucracy under presidential control, eliminating job protections for many government employees, overhauling agencies like the FBI, and deleting entirely the Department of Education. The Republican platform also adopts some ideas like declassifying records and reducing regulation, which I agree with the former, but it doesn't fully endorse the extensive agency changes. Now, they've already slipped one through on us that I don't remember hearing anybody talking about. In April this year, the Senate passed a bill that affects all of us. The Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act expands the definition of electronic communication service providers, allowing the NSA to access more devices. It mandates suspicionless searches of Section 702 data for non-US persons entering the country. Now, let's look at suspicionless, because that's important. If you Google it, it says suspicionless means without cause to believe that a person, location, or item is involved in illegal activity or is a threat to public safety. Suspicionless activities are different from suspicion-based actions, which are based on a cause to believe that a person or situation needs investigation or immediate assistance. Examples of reasonable suspicionless searches, in my opinion: sobriety checkpoints. Yeah, they're usually on bullshit, arresting people for other offenses that are not sobriety related. But generally, I've seen sobriety checkpoints instituted on occasions that they know people finna be drunk driving. So there's that. TSA checkpoints is another one. I don't think I need to explain this one either. I fly. I don't want no crazy shit happening on my plane. So yeah, check us, please. Examples of unreasonable suspicionless searches: bulk data collection. Cause why is you doing that? Student drug testing. Unless you got a job where people's lives are on the line, in my opinion, that's unreasonable. 3, it weakens the FISA courts, the FISA, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, but it weakens the FISA's court ability to get independent input on civil rights and privacy, and reauthorizes Section 702 for 2 more years through April 2026. And they already struck down Roe v. Wade. I feel like y'all should already know about that. If not, go look it up. I just want to make it clear though, nobody is aborting after pregnancy in no states. Nobody is aborting in the 8th, 9th months of pregnancy in no states. I never ever heard of these things happening, and I live in Baltimore. I done heard it all. You feel me? Now they want to, and I'm gonna quote the ACLU here, severely limit abortion access nationwide by reversing the FDA's approval of mifepristone, a drug used in medication abortion, and reviving a 19th century law, the Comstock Act, to ban any abortion medications, equipment, or materials from being sent through the U.S. Postal Service. Broadly, the document recommends that the Department of Health and Human Services uphold a definition of marriage and family that's rooted in the biblical principles and supported by social sciences. I don't know about you, but I'd prefer if the Department of motherfucking Health and Human Services be supported by good old-fashioned science. Just science. But maybe that's just me. Immigration. They already ripped families apart and put kids in cages. Now they propose increased funding for the US-Mexico border wall, as if we got money for that shit. Dismantling the Department of Homeland Security.
What?
Nigga, do you want terrorism? And also eliminating certain visa categories like H-1B, L-1, H-2B, and certain J-1 visas. Increasing immigrant fees and fast-tracking premium-paying immigrants. So the premium-paying migrants get the fast track. They also guarantee the largest deportation program in U.S. history by any means, even to the point of deporting people that were born here. And now here's some more random and other government stuff they want to do. Here's something from a BBC article I found. Quote, it proposes to eliminate a long list of terms from all laws and federal regulations, including sexual orientation, gender equality, abortion, reproductive rights, end quote. Project 2025 aims to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in schools and government departments as a part of what it describes as a wider crackdown on woke ideology. The next one is wild. They trying to ban corn, y'all. What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? Banned? Banned? And shutting down the telecom companies that don't comply. So that's what we doing? We shutting down companies for not complying to your Bible thumping ass demands? Bet. They also want to prohibit any critical conversations about race, gender, and systemic oppression in any classroom, even college, which is in violation of the First Amendment. They intend on using the federal law to compel states and private entities to discriminate against transgender individuals by threatening legal action against schools that uphold trans students' rights, or warning hospitals that they will lose Medicaid funding if they offer gender-affirming care to trans adolescents. Whether you agree with this shit or not, the fact here is they are attempting to weaponize the Fed system to strip civil rights. That affects everybody. The document also advocates cutting federal funding for renewable energy research, prioritizing oil and natural gas, and shifting from a carbon reduction to a energy production. It presents conflicting views on tariffs and suggests significant tax cuts to corporations, abolishing the Federal Reserve, and considering a gold-backed currency. Now, the last two I ain't particularly mad at, but even a broke clock is right twice a day. They focus on reducing inflation and energy costs, but lacks any detailed policies to make that happen. Trump supports raising tariffs on imports, which, if you pay attention, will raise the prices of everything. I mean, imagine how many things are made in China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines, wherever. All that stuff finna cost more just to get in the country. So he's essentially taxing us, the consumers, because we all know the corporation ain't just finna absorb those price increases. And that about wraps up what I want to say about Project 2025. So number one on my list was Project 2025. Number two is, and this is important, I need you to pay attention. Nothing. Ain't no number two. That's it. Project 2025 alone and the potential ramifications of it are why I, an anarchist, am going to the polls on November 5th, 2024 to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Because I've read, I have watched, and I have researched. For me, this is the least insane choice. Simple as that. As I said before, I'm going to put the links to these articles and the link for you to read the Project 2025 bullshit for yourself. I be joking because I'm generally apathetic to this whole shit, but something is telling me that this is the beginning of the end. And go watch the movie Civil War too. I think A24 is on to something with that one. Now, after all that, I got one simple question for all of you I'm not with her niggas. What do you have to offer that's better than her? Cause it's not Trump.
That's when Gurley first got involved in politics, after then President Trump's trade war with China hit his bottom line hard.
The markets I lost personally, it averaged about between $50,000 and $70,000 a year for 4 years running. Well, roughly $250,000 that I lost under Donald Trump.
Even though farmers bore the brunt of China's retaliatory tariffs targeting U.S. agriculture and food products to the tune of billions, Gurley says he's struggled to convince many Trump-supporting farmers in the area to acknowledge how the former president's policies affected their business.
These motherfuckers trying to send us back to the Puritan era. They want us living like Quakers or some shit. If you don't want, and I know you niggas don't read, but bear with me for a second. I'm finna talk to the niggas that do. If you don't want 1984, if you don't want Fahrenheit 451, then just for right now, don't vote for Chester Cheeto. Don't do it. It's a lot of people out there that's going to. So what are you going to do about it? Because sitting on your ass is a vote for Fahrenheit 451. They're going to burn the books, y'all. When they started banning books from the schools, these ones, I knew then we're on the path to Fahrenheit 451. And if you don't want to read, Look at the movie. It got Michael B. Jordan in it. Y'all like him, right? I got one for y'all. If you don't want to live in the Handmaid's Tale, don't vote for him. We're looking for a president, not a dictator. As the title suggests, I consider myself to be anarchist leaning in my political beliefs. Meaning, simply put, I do not have faith that the current political system will ever work for the masses, and it needs to be eliminated completely. What that looks like, I don't know. There are many suggested paths to a different way, but we're not here for that. If you're like me, which is a nihilist really, you should probably still engage. If you don't trust either side and feel like it's no point, you still have other options. So let's talk about those other options. As much as I would love to vote for Cornel West, the fact that he's supported morally and financially by many right-wing institutions should tell you that while maybe he's not a plant, he sure is being used to divert votes away from Vice President Harris. You might have heard of another Kennedy threw his hat into the arena. It even seemed like he may have been making some waves, even if for a brief moment. I ain't gonna lie, I was intrigued by him at first, but after a little bit of research, I quickly found out that he was just another wolf in sheep's clothing. But it was very short-lived, as he's now endorsing Trump. And that's why he's another example of how people can be put in a place to siphon votes away from one party or another. You have to look at the facts and ask the hard questions.
What does it mean to be a featherless, two-legged, linguistically conscious creature born between urine and feces, whose body will soon be the culinary delight of terrestrial worms?
Is there really any chance in hell Cornel West gets enough votes to be the president? The answer is no. And that goes for every other candidate on the ballot whose name isn't Harris, Trump, or Stein. Now, who is Stein, you ask? Dr. Jill Stein, along with Dr. Butch Ware, are surprisingly looking like serious contenders. Harvard-educated Dr. Stein, an actual former practicing physician, is running a super progressive platform. Almost too progressive. First, I haven't heard a white person quote this many black writers since Jane Elliott and Tim Wise. As a representative of the only 23-year-old Green Party, she's a self-proclaimed anti-Zionist, and despite her Jewish heritage, she has been very vocal about not standing with Israel and its continued war criminality. I think she may just be anti-war in general. I've heard her claim to be pro-reparations, which, I mean, that in itself is groundbreaking, in my opinion, especially considering how weird these politicians usually act when asked about reparations. They either obfuscate like shit and avoid the question entirely, or give us a couple bullshit reasons why that's not possible, or flat out say no. You know, a couple of other platform stances I heard were killing the Electoral College in favor of some shit called ranked choice voting, which basically makes every vote count towards somebody due to a ranking system at the poll. She states that she's pro-worker, which I assume means she's gonna side with unions over corporations in terms of labor legislation. She's big on declaring a climate crisis and trying to put into place laws to protect the environment. She spoke about tackling the health disparities of lower income and black people specifically. As a doctor, she's obviously in a unique position to do that if she became the president. And Dr. Rudolph Butch T. Bilal Ware III is an author and doctor of history, which I feel like a black historian in the White House, that would be fire as fuck. He's currently listed as a historian of West Africa at the University of California, Santa Barbara. The things I heard him say were dope too. He talked about what Malcolm X and James Baldwin said about Jewish and Palestine relations in the 60s, which I never hear any politicians do. He name dropped all the great black liberation legends that condemned the occupation of Palestine, which was fueled in part by anti-Semitism and in part by white supremacy, and in the process caused another group of people to be oppressed. But it was okay because they were brown. That alludes to the fact that this is a problematic occupation and has been that way from the beginning in 1903 when they were first trying to put the Jewish population in East Africa. Google the Uganda scheme. Most of this I heard on the Breakfast Club interview featuring the presidential and VP hopefuls and attorney/journalist Angela Rye. Now, I knew Black Politics Candyman was gonna pull up at some point during this election. You mentioned 3 black issues people consider in the political world. She finna pop up. The interview was really insightful. At some points, it was a bit painful to watch. The conversation was necessary though. And it's by no means a coincidence that they went on The Breakfast Club, a platform consumed by a majority black population. So during this interview, I noticed quite a few things. There are a few moments in the interview that I want to bring light to here. So here go one.
I've been in the rooms with her on justice reform issues and others, helped to convene those rooms where she's been more open, because what we do know about how politics works is that it can't just be this wish agenda. I love a lot of what you all have on your agenda. I'll call it the after 7 ready or not agenda. I'll give you the sun, the rain, the moon, the stars, and the mountains. But there's really
who called it a wish list? You mean the same people that spend $1 trillion of y'all's money blowing up other people's kids are saying it's a wish list to have an actual social programming?
I'm sorry,
that's propaganda, man. That's propaganda.
It's not propaganda. I'm saying it because I've worked on Capitol Hill. It's very difficult to get what you're trying to achieve. So just for example,
Jill can talk about what you can do just from the executive
Dr.
office.
Ware,
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Just for an example, I'd love to know how many voting members in the United States House of Representatives?
So we have been blocked. The Democrats throw us off the ballot. They interfere. They put spies and infiltrators on our campaign.
How many voting members?
Compare us.
No. Answer the question. How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total are there? What is it? 600 some?
No, it's 435.
Plus 100 in the Senate, right?
100, yes, I said House of Representatives.
Okay.
100 in the Senate. Of those 435 in the House, of the 100 in the Senate, how many, just one moment, I'm not trying to put you on the defense. I'm just saying this because the Hill is my passion. That's where I grew up as a professional, right? How many of them are Green Party members?
Okay, I know where you're going with this.
I'm not going
you are
anywhere.
attempting to show that the Greens are powerless. I want to make the point.
I was not trying to show you're powerless.
Well, this is usually part of that argument.
What was the point you were trying to make, Angela? What was the point?
I'm going
before you rebuttal, Dr. Stein, what was the point?
I want to know how many voting members of the Green Party in the House or the Senate currently exist.
Currently, there are none.
I died laughing at the part when she hit him with the After 7, first of all. For those of you that might have missed the reference, After 7 is an R&B group from the late 80s, early 90s, originally consisting of 2 brothers of the 13 Grammy Award-winning, 125 top 10 Billboard songwriting, singer-songwriter, producer, Babyface. Their hit from 1989, Ready or Not, a beloved classic in the black community, features some of the most outrageous lyrics a man has ever sang to a woman, okay? I mean, we're talking about giving her the world, climbing the highest hill after you already gave her the mountains, crossing the widest sea, walking 1,000 miles, sailing 1,000 seas, all right? Giving her your soul. It's too descriptive to be hyperbole, I feel like. Babyface was in his bag when he wrote this shit. The point is, though, that's a whole lot of impossible ass shit you just said on that song, man. It makes me question if you're doing too much. It makes me wonder if you're playing in my face when you tell me you're gonna give me all this shit that I know is not in your power to give. In my mind, there's no fucking way. I agree with her there. Angela Rye caught smoke online for stating statistics, because niggas hate statistics, okay? Don't get me wrong, she was definitely on guard, but so was Dr. Stein. Charlamagne had to intervene just to let her finish the question. And I ain't like that shit. She keep trying to talk over this black woman. Like, stop that, dog. I don't like that. What you think this is? Remember that teacher you didn't like because she treated you like you were the dumb black charity case and she was Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds? There's no way you could be smart and have an informed opinion. You know, those vibes. Big white saviorism energy from her, I'm getting. The question was, of all the 500-something motherfuckers in the Senate and House, who's green? Nobody. So who are your allies? Because you obviously can't do shit. You absolutely cannot do shit without allies. Now, after 5 minutes of torture, them not even letting the woman get to the question and the point, here go this nigga. Oh, that's a good ass question. She went into this whole spiel about the platform she's standing on. It went on for 10 minutes. She never answered the question because she ain't got no allies. Another criticism that I have of her is that she don't really sound convincing. Don't call yourself the low budget party because that's what you think brokies want to hear. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something weird about someone standing on such a working class platform, but not at all from or of the working class. Like, You got an inheritance. You went to Harvard and became a doctor and a politician. Stop acting like you understand what regular people go through, because you can't possibly. She did state a statistic that I didn't know though. She said 1 of 3 eligible voters didn't vote in 2020. That's a fucking lie. So the Green Party is trying to get that 1/3, I'm assuming. And while we're at it, I didn't like this either.
Look at the Ukraine war, for example, which is an absolute disaster. It is a war being fought to the last Ukrainian. No one is paying a steeper price in blood than the people of Ukraine right now.
You mean this Ukraine? Or this one? I even seen a Vice documentary before the war of far-right militia members going over to the Ukraine from the Americas to train in guerrilla warfare for the impending and inevitable race war. So I'ma keep it a bean. I don't give a fuck about no Ukraine. I don't condone any imperial state, monarchy, oligarchy, or whatever establishment dropping bombs on no innocent civilians anywhere on this planet. But I'm not finna cry about some niggas that probably don't give a fuck about me. No one is paying a steeper price in blood than the people of Ukraine? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not even finna dignify that asinine ass statement with my opinion. I'ma just state some facts. 2014 to 2024, 10 years, 1 million estimated casualties and injured. That's the numbers for the Ukraine war. The Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003, 5.4 million deaths. And Congo and Rwanda are at war right now. But I only hear about that shit when I go on Twitter. She also said some slick shit. Angela got on that ass. Angela was merely stating numbers by which Dr. Stein has lost in previous campaigns. And she was like, this is the framing of white supremacy. No. Those were numbers. She was making a good ass point. It's win or lose. And what makes you think that right here, right now, you're gonna win? And if you're not, why would we take votes away from an actual viable opponent to this antibacterial Kamala face ass aspiring dictator? You think putting Malcolm X third on the ballot is gonna do it? And speaking of Dr. Ware, let's talk about him. Now, before y'all think I'm jumping all over this man, let me play this clip.
Blackness is not a race. It is an oppositional ideology to white supremacy. I'm a historian of Africa by training. Never before in human history had people speaking hundreds of different languages made themselves into one people, developed a common culture so that you and I can relate to one another. You and I can relate to one another on the basis of a shared culture. And we got our Latin and Caribbean brothers and sisters, you know, especially Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, but also, you know, more broadly, right? They're sharing that culture. That is a miracle. It's never happened before in human history.
I love that shit. I love that shit what he said right there, man. I was like, wow, it's so true, and I've never heard it put quite that way. He was also talking about erasing the generational wealth gap. Now, that's what he said. He was like, now. I love that. He spoke about having a bunch of Black Wall Streets. Obviously, I love that. Might be a little bit of problematic Black excellence undertones, as the aforementioned FD signifier often points out, but I think that's to be expected of an educated, older Black man that probably comes from a family of other educated Black people. I really want to vote for bruh, so bad, but in the current system of politics, I must pose a serious question. At what cost? Right now, the cost could be the country. Not like I feel like this is necessarily my country, but it definitely will be exponentially not my country if this traffic cone face ass, hard hat, lace front wearing ass, Sunny D complected ass boy gets his way. I want to vote for this Black man for something. Vice President, that ass, let me see what else you can run first. I ain't seen you throw not one alley yet, and you telling me you ready to be the most powerful wingman on the planet. He quoted Ali and was basically like, I wouldn't be in this fight if I didn't think I could win. I don't know, Chief. Scam likely. I mean, you gotta chill a little bit if you want enough people to vote for y'all to win the Electoral College. You think these motherfuckers is finna vote for a Black man wearing a kufi on his head, a shamag around his neck, quoting Malcolm X, talking about chickens coming home to roost, and show you right? About 14.5% of the US population is Black. About 1.34% is Muslim. Even if we were generous and said 16% of the population, which we can't due to the massive amount of overlap between Black and Muslim, every Black and Muslim in America could vote for y'all, And that still wouldn't be enough. Maybe one day this country will be progressive enough to have a brother like that in the White House. But today is not that day. Now, I understand if you want to cast your ballot with the Green Party. But again, I ask, at what cost? I can't think of another time in recent history where so much has been at stake. Maybe they've seen what's happened across the pond and believe a similar thing is possible here. I don't know. But let me tell you about that. For the past 14 years, the government of the UK has been in the hands of the British equivalent of the Republicans. During that time, Scotland almost seceded. Britain votes to leave the European Union after 40 years, causing the acting prime minister to quit. A few years later, she quits and idiot Boris takes over. He actually completes Brexit, then gets caught up in a whirlwind of scandals, and then he quits. The next prime minister fucked up the church's money, so she resigns in 44 days. Now, another guy's PM, the third in 3 months at this point. 2 years later comes the unexpected victory of the Labour Party. Now, polls show that somewhere around COVID and these Boris scandals, the UK lost faith in the Conservative Party. And I feel like the Green Party is banking on a similar sentiment here. If you're really tired of how shit going, you need to take a page out of the book of Anthony Harris and consider another type of political engagement. Get involved in your local government. Yes, you. Run for some shit. Read some poli-sci and maybe discern what they got wrong, because you're looking at the situation from a real person's perspective instead of one of some career scholar that's out of touch with reality. Approach politics with real world eyes and do something different. I think that really might be the only way we might be able to change some shit for the better. Now, I know you heard about the Haitians in Springfield. Well, Anthony Harris is at the center of this whole thing. Now, I don't watch this nigga go from asking simple people simple questions to getting his city council speech shared by Elon Musk and the rest of the right-wing nut jobs out there.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
That shit really started from him. They conflated this story about this mentally ill woman that wasn't even Haitian and not even in Springfield. She's in Canton. And his allegation that somebody told him on the phone that they saw a duck or goose get snatched up at the park and decapitated in front of some kids. Now, I don't believe that, but even if I did, what's the difference between a Peking duck, duck confit, and the ducks at the park? And that's a serious question for you out there, not Peter. Y'all can stay out of this. But I digress. That's basically what Anthony was saying. They need help, but the right spun it into something else entirely, as they tend to do. So what I want to make clear here is, I heard him clarify in a Facebook video that he fucks with Haitians. He stated he tried to get money with them. They ran a club together. Before most people were engaging, he engages with them. He was trying to get them help the only way he knew how, by using his platform to bring light to an issue in his community. And he did that by posting the many car accidents that were happening and eventually going to the city council meeting and making that speech. I think he may be even running for mayor. Like the next day or two after I see Elon post his video, I see this shit. They sent in 2.5 million and some troopers to Springfield. That's how it's done. They put them Haitians in Ohio, just abandoned them with no resources, got kids segregated in the schools, nobody there translating, nobody teaching niggas how to drive. They start crashing into shit. A regular ass nigga makes a fuss, it goes viral. The government actually busted a move. Here's an example right here of what to do. Do this. If you ain't finna do nothing though, not even educate yourself beyond the pictures with words on them shared by bot pages on Facebook, then I kindly request you shut the fuck up. With all due disrespect. Until the next time.
You know, it was highly disrespectful.